Go Ford for your next truck or SUV and find an easier way to buy with Woodhouse Ford today, and experience the convenience of buying with Woodhouse Ford. Save up to $13,000 off MSRP on a 2023 Ford F-150 XLT, plus 3.9% APR for 60 months with approved credit. $299 doc fee due at signing. Security deposit waived. Expires 1/02/2024.
Puget Sound, Washington. Two harbor patrolmen, Harold Dahl and Fred Chrisman, were on a workboat when they observed unusual saucer-shaped aircraft in the sky.
These objects was maneuvering in a very erratic and strange fashion. And it suddenly exploded in the sky, showering all this strange wreckage down into the harbour. Was approached by a real man in black, and he was threatened with his life. His family's life was threatened.
You will not speak of this to anyone.
Making it very, very clear that under no circumstances should he talk about this encounter.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. It's going to be a good one today, pretty good one. And it's going to be a story that happened in 1947. But before we get going, I want to welcome everybody to Alien Strand Podcast. You can catch us on Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and alienstrand.com. And catch us on Facebook as well, right? So our Facebook page has, a lot of videos that we put up every single day, right? And they're for you to comment on and check those out and, be respectful on all your comments as you all are. And I really do appreciate that. And, everything that's posted on Alien Strand there on Facebook is for you to decide whether you believe if it was real or it wasn't. A lot of times, a lot of our friends come into these videos and they'll analyze them for us. So if you go down through the comments, you see their analyzations on them and you get a better answer on what it is or what it was, right? So if you have a chance, check those out, comment, go through all the videos, photos. I post a lot of interesting things. I even do the funny for the day, so that way you can get a smile for the day every once in a while. I do a lot of history. I love history. So you'll see a lot of things on the pharaohs, the pyramids, right? But if you want to be a guest on the show, you can call us at 361-245-8000. Again, that's 361-245-8000. If you want to be a guest on the show, you got some sightings, you got some video you'd like to share, you have a story of an abduction, anything like that, give me a call and we'll set you up for the show, okay? Or if not, go to the Facebook page. You'll see a call now button there. Click that. It'll call me directly to my cell phone, right? And then we can just set it up for you. So I've been putting up a lot of good stuff there on Facebook as far as these videos have been coming out. My God, they're amazing videos that people have been spotted. A lot of it has been happening in Mexico, right? So, Mexico is a hot spot, man. I just, everything that we see in the skies that looks real, a lot of it looks super real is coming out of Mexico or South America, around that area. Go and check out a lot of those. If you can see it on your Facebook groups, even though they're in Spanish, go look at those UFO Spanish groups, because you know what? They have a lot of great footage that we are not seeing here in the States. So I'm a member of a lot of those groups, not just because I understand it a little bit, but they have a lot of good footage that looks very authentic, right? And that's why I like to share it here on Alien Strand, right? So that way you guys can get the information that you need to pass on to your friends or whoever, just like this podcast, right? Speaking of this podcast, if you can, go back, check out all my past podcasts that I've done. Very interesting story, very interesting stuff, right? I got a lot of you guys fans that are, contacting me on Instant Messenger. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate, when I speak to you guys one-on-one, I love doing that, and don't be afraid to instant message me if you got something or an image you want to share, and I'll give you my opinion on it, right? Or I'll submit it to one of my friends or groups and they'll check it out for you, right? Now, it'll take me a little bit because I'm a busy person, but I'll eventually get back to you. So, the episode we're going to do today, it's called 1947. And a lot of you have heard this story before, right? It's been in shows and movies. I think they did a small movie about it here in 2014. It's called Maury Island UFO, I believe. So, and this story has different, it goes different directions. And this story actually goes in 3 different directions. Not just the encounter, but what happened afterwards, right? And all the information that was given after. So if you go to a lot of these podcasts or YouTube videos, a lot of information is not given or detailed on them. And here at Alien Strand, I like to give you a little bit more detail on the story. So that way, when you do see it, at least you know for yourself, or you can tell whoever's sitting next to you, no, this is what happened, or there's more to it, right? So, this story happens in 1947 around the Tacoma, Washington area on June 21st, 1947. And so, in this scenario, or this encounter, we have 2 patrolmen. They're actually like police harbor patrolmen. There's a small area, small islands around there, right, that they patrol. They remove logs, anything that's in the way. That's what they do. That's their job at the time. One of them was Fred Chrisman. The other gentleman was named Harold Dahl. And in the stories, you always hear of a crew member, but the crew member was actually Dahl's son. Doesn't give his name, but we know it was his son that was with him on the boat. Also, they had a small a dog on the boat as well. So, in this incident, it happened during the day. I believe it's in the afternoon. They're finishing their patrolling. And when they noticed right above the boat, they saw 6 donut-shaped objects in the sky moving around. I'm talking directly above the boat. So when they looked up at it, they saw an opening at the very bottom of the boat. at the bottom of the UFO. At that instant, they both described like lava, liquid, and chunks coming out of the bottom of these UFOs. It was landing in the water all over them. It was like a silver substance. They said the material was super heavy. It was just making plopping noises in the water. It was hitting the boat, breaking the windshield. And unfortunately, these pieces were so heavy that it broke one of the crew members, which is Dahl's son's arm. And unfortunately, it killed the small dog on the boat. They were probably in shock at that time, as I would be. This incident only took place for only a few minutes, so it wasn't a very long incident. Once they looked up, they saw these objects ascend and then disappear quickly into the clouds. Then they saw the material all over the boat and decided to keep some of it in their possession, right? So this material was like a rock formation, they called it. But it was like a silver color. It almost looked like lava that had been, once it's spewed and then it cools down, it turns into that shape. Very rugged, a lot of holes in it. Basically, that's what it looked like. It looked like a lava rock. And then Dahl claims to have taken several photos of this object. So the next morning, Dahl reported that a man arrived at his house. This man was over 6 foot tall, muscular, and wearing a black suit. And he invited Dahl to breakfast that morning to a diner that was nearby. He says this man drove a 1947 Buick. At the time, that was a brand new vehicle. And then Dahl assumed that he was military or a government representative. That's why he didn't question it too much, who this guy was. Back then, there was a lot of that going around. And they heard about things like that. So, I did ask myself, as you probably would have, why did he just jump in a car with somebody who doesn't even know who they are? Well, that's the way they were back then. It was a very innocent time. 1947. While they ate, the man told him details of the UFO sighting, right? And then Dahl, he never related his account on the sighting publicly to anybody. So this gentleman that was giving him all the information about the UFO sighting, he was wondering how he got that information, because he never said anything. At this point, the man in black issued a non-specific warning and threat. He says, quote, "Your family may be harmed if you relate these details of your sighting." At this point, Dahl feared for his life and family. So when this conversation would come up later, what we find out, that Dahl decided to say it was a hoax. The only reason he did that was to protect his family. Is that what you would have done? But this is what makes this story different. Dahl, for some reason, could not stay quiet about it. I guess he was excited about the incident. So Dahl told an employee at the sawmill, despite of the warnings, right? The day after the incident, Chrisman sailed back to the island by himself, and he said that he spotted another UFO, but quickly disappeared behind a cloud. Chrisman gathered more material that he found there, and he sent it to Ray Palmer. He was a friend at the University of Chicago, and this was reported by the FBI in 1947, right? So they're already watching him. Ray Palmer was an editor of Venture Science fiction magazine, right? That magazine was featured on January 1948. So he'd already given this material to this gentleman who was an editor for this magazine that just came out several months later. But before that, and even, before it was published, he still had a meeting with Ray Palmer. So Arnold Ray flew from Boise, Idaho to Tacoma, Washington to meet up with Chrisman, Dahl, and 3 military intelligence officers at the Winthrop Hotel there. They wanted to get this out on the table, right? So that's why they had this meeting. It says the meetings lasted for several days between the men. The FBI was writing a report the whole time on Chrisman, really. Said he was the most suspect out of them all. And then you ask yourself, why is the FBI watching? Why are they watching him? And I'm going to tell you why. Chrisman began leaking all the information to the people and reporters at this hotel. Plus details about the conversations with the military personnel there. So he already had a red flag on him because they were watching him. There was reporters from the Tacoma Times and the United Press there. Plus, there was an anonymous caller who contacted the Seattle Post and the Boise Statesman. So somebody was spilling the beans, right, on the encounter that just happened. And the FBI is watching this the whole time. But the story gets better. So the 2 intelligence officers that were there were Captain William Davidson and Lieutenant Frank Brown. They had to return to the Hamilton Field in California, right? The only reason they had to return because the next day was called Air Force Day. And that's the day that they officially, the Air Force, got their own branch in the military. So there was going to be a big celebration the next day. So as they were leaving, Chrisman proceeded samples of the rock material from the UFO. So he gave them these samples. The plane was carrying both servicemen. It took off. Shortly after takeoff, it crashed.
Wake up at Holiday Inn Express to a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. Count on all the hot, fresh coffee you need and an incredible breakfast buffet that has something for everyone, like eggs, cinnamon rolls, and even hot, fresh pancakes with all the toppings you crave. Next time, do yourself a favor and stay at a Holiday Inn Express with a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. So, when you wake up at Holiday Inn Express, you'll wake up happy. A part of IHG Hotels and Resorts.
And it killed them both. Apparently there were actually 4 servicemen on that airplane. 2 of them survived. They were able to jump out and parachute out before the airplane crashed. In April 2007, the crash site was rediscovered, and some of the material discovered. During that time in 1947, after the crash, the 2 other men that survived did not know anything about the objects that they were carrying. And they denied the secret cargo, right? I think that's what they're supposed to do. But later admitted to the investigation of Dahl, plus a report. So they knew what they were supposed to do when they flew there. They were going to investigate this thing that happened. Alarmed by these deaths, Dahl disappeared, and his son ran away to Montana. Arnold and Palmer also went missing shortly after. And Arnold was advised by Ted Murillo of the United Press, quote, "You're involved in something that is beyond our power here to find anything out. Get out of this town until whatever it is blows over." Was this a case of a disabled UFO? Or was this really a hoax? Was this truth changed to a hoax? For safety issues, in other words. And being scared because of bodily harm, right? What would you do? They see this 6 UFOs above their boat. It dumps material all over them, smashes the boat, kills the dog, hurts the son. They don't report it to anybody. Man in Black shows up, gives him a warning. Days later, they're meeting with investigators, military personnel, and then reporters from large newspaper entities. So you tell me if this whole story occurred. And you know what's different about this? but the same? This is 1947, right? Did you know the Roswell crash happened 12 days later? Coincidence? Right after this encounter, 12 days later in Roswell, we get that crash. Was that UFO having distress issues? Was it the same one? Gets you thinking just for a minute there, right? We're putting a puzzle together. So the gentleman, his name was Albert Bender. He seized on Dahl's story. He was writing a story about this in his newsletter in 1953, several years later. Then Bender claimed that 3 men in black visited him as well. They told him, stop your UFO research. In which he did. He had the Internal Flying Saucer Bureau. That was the name of his magazine, I guess, or his group. But 10 years later, in 1963, he published the story anyway. It was called Flying Saucers and 3 Men. Is it a coincidence that the debris that Crispin gave these military personnel end up in the plane that crashed immediately after? They're also saying that another military plane was shot down the same day. By a large machine gun. The investigation of the plane crash of the 2 servicemen that were killed indicated that the rear rudder of the tail of that plane was shot off. They believe it was a 20 millimeter cannon that took it out. Why that plane? Gets you to wonder sometimes. You know, like, who are these men in black and why? You know, we still hear stories about them today. Are they real? Yeah, I believe so, they are. I think they're just there that if you get a little too close for comfort or a little too close to the truth, they're there to shut you down, to not to go any further. But back then in the 40s, in the 50s, they shut you down completely. Now, ufology is so huge and it's all over the place, all over the internet, videos everywhere. You're watching it on all these major news stations. They're putting it out there. So how are they going to shut that down? They can't. Because it's too much and it's everywhere. These UFOs are just showing themselves everywhere, all over the world. Philippines, in Europe, United States, Mexico. They're everywhere. In Africa. I just did a podcast about that. Where those children met up with those extraterrestrials. Are we ever going to know why they're here? Maybe. Maybe not. If you have a chance, go to these groups. Check them out. Look at the content that they're putting out there. There's some that are a lot of fake and CGI. You know that. You can see it most of the time. But there's a lot of real stuff out there as well. At Alien Strand, we want you to make up your mind on what you think it is. We're not forcing you to. We're just giving you the information. Just like this story here. The encounter was short. But everything that happened after was the intriguing part about it. And it got me to think, okay, everybody's saying this is a hoax. There's too many details. There's even a lawsuit. I'm going to post a link to that. I have a PDF on the FBI report that they put out. They actually put it out there. So it's not that it's illegal. It's legal. It's for you to see, and it's about this encounter. And it talks a little bit about the encounter and these two gentlemen and what happened. But I'll put the information out for you guys to see it for yourselves. Check it out. I'm sure you'll enjoy that information. Well, it was a great story, wasn't it? I'm glad you guys were listening to Alien Strand, stuck around. If you liked this story, hit a like, thumbs up, heart on any of the platforms that are there. Spotify, iHeart, Spreaker, Deezer, Castbox. We're all over. And all over many countries already. Thank you guys for that. Thank you for sharing the podcast. You know, I really do appreciate that. You can spread this story out to people. A little more detailed. It was a little short, but it's okay. The information is there. It's there for you to decide. Dig into it a little bit, just like all the other podcasts. If you can, go back, check out all those other podcasts in the past. You know, I'm on number 56. I made it way up here. I plan on keep on going for you guys. So until then, you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
Hi, this is Kelly Green with Realty Executives, Coastal Bend in Corpus Christi, Texas. And you're listening to the Alien Strand podcast with Donald Ledesma. Buying or selling, visit me at kellygreenrealtor.com or visit me on my Facebook page, Kelly Green Realtor. See you there.
Capture life's moments like never before with Rockbrook Camera. Nebraska and Western Iowa's premier camera store since 1975. Rockbrook Camera is not just about selling you a camera. It's about helping you become a real photographer, recording your life and sharing it with others. Today's cameras are faster, easier to use, capable of shooting stunning video, and with film photography making a comeback, there's never been a better time to dive into the world of photography. Rockbrook Camera goes as fast or as slow as you want to go. You can try before you buy with camera rentals, or give that older generation camera in the used department a whole new journey. Find Rockbrook Camera, 1 block south of 168th and West Center in Omaha, 70th and Pioneers in Lincoln, and at rockbrookcamera.com. That's rockbrookcamera.com. Discover or rediscover your love of photography today at Rockbrook Camera. Great photography begins here.